And welcome to ABP Live. I have with me today Major General Sudhakar Jee. He's been the primary voice within the India-China boundary tensions and the border. He has served at the line of actual control. And we are here to understand from him what is it, the arrangement that India and China has finally agreed upon after 4 years of standoff that we saw at the Eastern Ladakh sector of the LAC. Welcome to ABP Live, sir, and thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thank you, Nayanima, and it's grateful. I'm delighted to connect with you on a subject which is as much sensitive as it is important in the today's geopolitical disarray. When I say this, I am very mindful of the fact that whatever is coming the way in favor of India's national interest is fraught with many, many thorns and many loopholes, which we should be very careful of. We need to actually be very cautious and go about dealing with things in a calibrated manner, which should not compromise the national security.
Very true, sir. And that is what I've been hearing from some of the experts like yourself, that while probably it is a positive signal that both these neighbors have finally, have had a thaw in their relationship. It really seems that, what kind of arrangement has been, that has been arrived upon. There is a lack of clarity in that. But then, as we've heard the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri talking to the reporters in Kazan, he said that Demchok and Depsang had also been agreed upon, and there's been some resolution on that. So you know the geography very well, sir, and the Y junction, the Chadingla Nala. Do you really think that we were hearing that these were legacy issues? These happened before 2020, and these were going on since 2013. So do you think that has been really resolved? Because if that is the case, then this is a huge development.
Yeah, Nayanima, at the very outset, after 4-year plus extended standoff, or you can say 5 years of extended standoff in the high altitude, got forsaken place. Okay, altitude goes up to 22,000, temperatures to up to minus 53 degrees Celsius, poor connectivity, remote areas, evacuation of casualty. It's a tall order when a thing like this takes place, despite 21 Corps commanders meetings and number of, I'm told, 31 at different levels of meetings have taken place. So then the question comes to the mind as to why China did what it did. I know why China did, and it will be incorrect on my part to disclose everything. But partially, I definitely would say, if you have a house anywhere in the world, okay, and you don't have a boundary, but for sure you know that it is your area of jurisdiction, is there any harm in planting a tree or a plant? Is there any harm in developing a garden? Is there any harm in making some kind of infrastructure development to improve connectivity and have better connections with the troops where they are living and improve their quality of life? No. India has been just doing the same. It is just that at one point in time, Eastern Ladakh is to be looked after by not more than 2 companies. One company by the Jack militia at DBO side, one at Demchok. That's it. Today, when you look at the entire area, it is the density of troops is gone up by several times. When the density of troops goes up and the boundaries are neither delineated nor demarcated, obviously the opposing party will keep facing more number of troops when they are coming into their perceived area of line of control, which they never saw before. So therefore, it leads to kind of a confrontation or friction. And that leads to the fistcuff and all those kinds of problems. So in absence of the boundary being demarcated or being delineated or some kind of agreement which have been signed in 93, 96, 2005, 2012 and 13, if they have been junked, if they are discounted, if they have been thrown into the dustbin, torn into pieces, in form of, I mean, in terms of practicing on the ground, which were there existing for past 40 or preceding 40 years, then what else do you expect? Where is the trust between the two adjoining nations? So therefore, to answer your question, all I would say is that there is much more that meets the eye. When I say this, there is a geopolitical churn taking place. There
Right.
is a drift, in my opinion, of the gravity of the global order shifting eastwards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all this while we have been talking about the existing architecture of the global apex organizations being based on transatlantic relationship. Okay, that's after the Second World War, when the League of Nations collapsed, we had something like the United Nations Organization, the World Health Organization, the World Bank, the IMF, and host of the ICJ. So host of other organizations. These are existing as per the understanding, perception, and the rules which they thought were appropriate and relevant. But today the global order has shifted. The threat in 20th century is not the same threat in 21st century. We had a bipolar world in the Cold War 1.0.
Right.
And after 1991, disintegration of Soviet Russia, we thought that unipolarity would drive the global order to some semblance of liberal, rules-based international order.
Correct.
Unfortunately, that is not to be seen. When that is not to be seen, what happens? Then the rules-based order arbitrarily is being flouted by the people who are supposed to be guiding and be the custodian of the rules. They do things which they think they are right,
Right.
and whatever is being perpetrated against the existence of a nation like India, let's say terrorism, our terrorists become their freedom fighters, freedom of expression. I mean, if there is no common parameter for existence on this planet, then what happens to the common challenges? So therefore, to coming back straight to your question, when you talk about the Depsang Plain and you talk about the Demchok, this complete area is running over a distance of 832 kilometers. Aksai Chin being what it is, 38,000 square kilometers is towards their side. Right since 1962 conflict, it has gone to their side. Okay. And the LAC, when you talk about the LAC, we need to understand what is the meaning of LAC. LAC, nobody has understood. In fact, the babus and the bureaucrats sitting in South Block dealing with the subject, they are very, very scared to open up the subject and talk upfront. Nobody is clear. LAC is that line which was suggested and proposed by Chow Lai way back in 1959 when he had communicated to our Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. That's 7th September 1959. There is a letter signed by him, and there are two different parts covering the distance of 3,488 kilometers. One is to the Eastern Ladakh, which is called as the western part. The other one is to the eastern sector. It takes care of Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, and in between
I
Bhutan
will
comes.
I will come to that, sir. Just a second, because I wanted to also understand from you the things that you have said, that there is a lot that meets the eye. uh, why do you think then India went ahead and announced this kind of a thaw, especially now when Prime Minister Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping had to meet in Russia? Do you think there was some kind of pressure on India?
I don't think so. You see, anything that happens in the world order, anytime, whether previous century or this century, it is not to be studied in isolation. I personally feel that it may not have come to the light or attention of the media. The There are many things, but prominent and conspicuous issues that come to me as an independent student of geopolitics is interference, foreign interference in elections of India. There are more than 50 countries which have gone in for elections this year, or they are going in for. As per my study and analysis, almost all the countries are being interfered with foreign countries. What does it mean? If Narendra Modi, a prime minister of his stature, global stature, more than 73% favorable rating at the global level, if he goes around, I'm a military man. For me, my party is national interest. I'm neither BJP nor Congress. But this is my analysis. If a prime minister goes around saying that is bar 400 par and he settles with 240, that means there is enough to justify that all was not well. There has been very serious interference. There has been strategic manipulation which has taken place, like it took place in Canada, took place in Brazil, took place in elsewhere in Africa. Now look to the closest neighbor, the Bengal. I'm talking about
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. What has happened in Bangladesh? Bangladesh is a creation of the present profile and situation. It is a gift to the world order, gifted by none other than USA. So I don't want to actually, divert to a topic. Today only a
That we
special
can
interview was
discuss
taken.
maybe later, sir, but I wanted to.
Yeah, it's a 6G warfare, how the human mind is being hacked, how the fact checkers are being employed in India, how the bureaucrats and important responsible people of USA at one point in time was sent to meet important leaders of India, which just to provoke them or manipulate the oncoming elections outcome, and also carry out some kind of a change manipulation of the election outcome. So anyway, we'll digress from the topic, but essentially I personally feel that yes, a lot of things, it is not the pressure, but one dot has to be joined with the second one, and you have to make it coherent to have a picture, a narrative coming to your mind before you take a decision. If a decision of this nature has gone, I don't think India is doing anything wrong. It is the only country which is stitching the East with the West and North and the South. And mind you, our Honorable Prime Minister has gone to the extent of saying, contrary to the perception of the Western Alliance, that BRICS is actually anti-West. He's gone to the extent of saying it is not anti-West, it is non-West. This is the expression which he has used. So having said that, my personal take on the issue is that there are many things which are not spoken, but yes, many things which have come to light, which will drive India to continue to practice multilateralism in today's geopolitical order. It is not a unipolar world, nor is it a bipolar one. China claims it is a bipolar one. India says as a distinction that it is a multilateral world which we respect and practice, and will choose a country which is of benefit to our national interest. Towards that end, Narendra Modi has done the right thing. Our Honorable Minister of External Affairs and his team, they have done an excellent thing. Extended standoff was neither beneficial to China nor to India. Okay, it was indirect way of bleeding India with 1,000 cuts. It was an extension of the philosophy of Pakistan, which was being practiced by China. More than that, there is an economy factor. We all know that China is going through a downswing as far as the economy is concerned. All is not well in China. Yes, we understand that it has got 18 plus trillion dollar of GDP, but that itself is not sufficient if it is to rejuvenate the Middle Kingdom concept by 2049 or earlier than that. It is ambitious to achieve a global target by 2040.
Sir, and also since, we have a little paucity of time here, if I can ask you, and since, I had stopped you on the LAC factor as well, so let me combine both the questions. There are these concerns also that I'm hearing, a lot of military veterans like yourself, that come the winter, the December time, December, January, when, last year also we saw a very difficult time for our soldiers there. They really are not trusting the factor that winter will not not see another maybe a clash or some kind of a betrayal, so to say. It is their words, not mine. And also, as you were rightly saying, that the LAC is divided into various parts. So there are these questions that maybe the sector in Arunachal Pradesh that can see a rise in tensions now.
Yeah, if you ask, I have served in all the sectors, and if I
Right.
have to prioritize, I would say Arunachal Pradesh is one kind of a part of this particular stretch of border where you have Tawang sector. If I have to prioritize, as let's say hypothetically, if I have to play a war game as an enemy devil's advocate, I would definitely go in for Tawang. Tawang would give me a better dividend because you have towards China side is Potala Palace and towards Tawang side is Tawang Monastery. You have had the sixth Dalai Lama also from Tawang. You have a contiguity of the region. You have His Holiness Dalai Lama uh, infiltrated into India or came into India through Kenjimane. And there is a language commonality. There is geography which is actually contiguous. So that I would say would continue to remain very, very important and sensitive in comparison. Second point I wish to highlight is in comparison to Eastern Ladakh, where you don't have a contiguous geographical feature. Over here, you have McMahon line, which is along a mountain range,
Right.
And more than that, you have coal, you have oil, you have gas, you have uranium, you have host of other things which are not there in the Eastern Ladakh. You have zinc, you have minerals available although, but it is a arid, absolutely barren top. So therefore, the priority for China, if at all they have to unleash any kind of activity, would be preferably they would be going somewhere in Arunachal Pradesh, and that is actually in proximity to Eastern China. So that is as far as the actions which are anticipated. But the question which you have also, earlier question which you asked me, I would also answer that yes, it is a cause for definite delightment. Definitely, we have taken a departure from what we have gone through in past 4.5 to 5 years now, and it calls for celebration. But caution must be exercised. China as a country cannot be trusted. First and foremost, the Chief of the Army Staff has made a loud statement that we need to restore trust with this country. Only then we can go ahead in settling our border. And the last long-term objective that we should look for is to settle the border, take this as a trigger, and carry it ahead until the border is settled with China. That's it.
Okay. And sir, before we sign off, just, 5 minutes to understand from you, since you have, wide experience across the LAC, do you really think what the Ministry of External Affairs is saying, that there can be a new set of confidence building measures, so to say, that will ensure that a Galwan-like clash will not happen in future?
I have my doubts about this statement. It is always welcome. The Minister of External Affairs, he is a very seasoned politician. He's got a lot of deep insight into the subject. I'm nobody to comment. But having served along the northern border for the major part of my tenure and service, I feel that China as a country cannot be trusted. They take 2 steps behind, and you don't know where they're going to strike you tomorrow. Therefore, we should remain prepared, remain on guard, and there could be any kind of action at any point in time at any part of the border. Number one. Number two, you see, I would say calibrated caution is the order of the day. China requires India as much. There is a study which has been carried out in China. Sorry for digressing. That study is a white paper. They have given it out that if China is looking at a rejuvenation of its Middle Kingdom concept, it's better that it takes India along. Because India is a country where the economy, the domestic consumption is so high, and the global organizations, they have said that the consumer base, we have got 500 million consumer base who spend, each one spends more than $12 a day. China as on today has got 900. By 2030, this 900 of China is going to touch a figure of 1030 million, and India's 500 million is going to cross a figure of 876 millions. And by 2035, we would have overtaken China. The China plus theory also is driving many of the major multinational companies coming towards India. Third, most important, is that India is the shining spot today after the pandemic, despite the Ukraine war, which is ongoing, despite what is happening in the Middle East. Here is a country which is posting a growth rate of 7.2 to 8.2 rate of GDP, and it is likely to sustain itself in foreseeable future. So therefore, China also is going in for a win-win situation. And to also share with you, there are also certain things which India cannot do without. We may talk about being the largest manufacturer or the second largest manufacturer of mobiles, but every mobile we produce has to be dependent on some components. Electronic components, the supply chain is so established today in the world for past several years that our dependency on China will take many years to be de-risked or decoupled. So therefore, I would say in foreseeable future, till India attains an economic status of $7 to $10 trillion or even more, we should actually put our head down, continue to have selective collaboration or cooperation with China, and go ahead until our economy actually starts riding on the back of a lion. Because unless our economy is strong, our military cannot be strong. If your military is not strong, you cannot assert and achieve the global status that we are aspiring to achieve by 2047 or prior to that.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for giving us that perspective. And thank you for giving us your time. For ABP Live, this is Nayanima Basu.
For exclusive and insightful videos, subscribe to our new channel ABP Live Premium.